Hello, Irmin is back to read more shifting melodies. Sh- And this is a reread on my earlier chapters because they were corrupted and doesn't sound as it should. So here we go. We are reading Chapter 2, Buzzing On. It was still dark when Midnight awoke. Her internal alarm clock, as precise as always, for there on. It was routine, as usual. Having a quick shower to wake up, a little more, make some breakfast and put her armor on. And weapons. The entire process was almost robotic, the motions long since committed to memory, though waking up in the strange apartment was a new one. She decided to leave a small note, just in case Ledger was wondering where she might have gone, and headed out, wondering just what Las Pegasus guard would have in store for her. The captain in charge of LP guard were non-nonsense men. She took her job seriously, and no point was giving a second chance. You screwed up, you'll live with the consequences. And when she heard that some hotshot rookie being transferred from Cantlot, she would only assume the worst. A greenhorn with little to no experience and used to the cushy lifestyle of Cantlot. And when a bright-eyed Thestral mare showed up, well, Captain Air was honestly surprised. Midnight's song record was really something, although brief. She had quite a few accolades to her name. Still, it just meant that Naro wouldn't have gone easy on her. So it got Naro annoyed when the bloody man beat her to the last 3 mornings in a row. "Good morning, Captain," Midnight said cheerfully as the unicorn mare walked in. Naro grunted a reply as he made a beeline for the coffee machine. Said machine produced a little more than coffee-flavored sludge, but it was better than nothing. Once she sat down and sipped that celestial awful drink, she grimaced and looked at the festival. "So, getting used to the city yet?" "I know most of the popular places and general hangouts for ponies," Mina nodded. "I've flown around the city a few times and taken a lot of notes. Oh, and I have an apartment to live in now, though my new roommate will take some getting used to." "A roomie? In this city?" Now pinched her nose and downed the rest of the coffee. "They got a name?" Mina nodded and snorted, uh, sorted through some files. "Level Ledger. He's a pretty quiet guy." She glanced up at her captain. Nothing the mare had gone a little quiet. "Something's up." "Yeah, I know that guy. Dealt with him a few times." Nara nodded as she stood up. "Guy's also notorious for not getting mugged every second day of the week. Some poor fool tried a few days after he arrived. He put her in the emergency ward with 6 months of physical therapy." Mina dropped the papers, her eyes widened significantly. "He did what?" "Don't know the full story. He claimed it had acted in self-defense, and she freely admitted to try to mug and assault him. The mare had a rap sheet longer than Celestia's legs, and I haven't heard another peep out of Level since then. But still," Naro recalled her injuries inflicted on that mare, and shuddered. "Look, kid, keep your eyes open around him. If he tries anything, you take him in and bring him here. Got it? Ma'am? Midnight saluted, suddenly wondering what that guy had done to scare even Nero that. Still, the atmosphere was getting heavy, and she wanted to change the topic. Another note. What are my orders today? Nero nodded. We have a backlog of paperwork and records. You any good at dealing with that kind of stuff? I'm very good at what I do. Midnight smiled and winked. Doesn't matter what or who. For the love of narrow-faced Hooft. There was kind of thing about Midnight. She was the most flirtatious mare she ever met, and she has seen the bloody red light strips more than most ponies in Equestria. Just get to work, would you? Yes, ma'am, Midnight giggled, glad that her skills were still intact. Never Ledger had left her thinking that she was getting rusty. Ledger sat in the small office that had been given by him by Pegasus Air, quietly going over the proposition in his boss was giving him. It was his job, not only analyze feasible of the venture, but find a way to properly hide it though, and in numbers of ways. This was, of course, the only thing he did. The second thing he did, while he still had time for the records available to him, was discreetly, quietly make copies of them. He was no moron. He knew almost from the first venue that the Pegasus had not been up to no good, unwholesome things. It was only when he proved that he would stand up for himself that he was shown these things in Pony. He did hope that the mare ended up recovering and rethink her life choice, such as the one that nearly ended up with her life being taken. After considering the last proposition and coming to a conclusion that he really didn't like, along with copying the company books of his own private set, then he left his office and walked down the hall towards the boss in the shipping company. He knocked on the door 3 times and was greeted with a voice commanding him, "Come in." The unicorn pushed the door open and set in to shut it after him with magic. The man across the desk of him was a unicorn as well, going over the local news with a fine-tooth comb. Apparently, seeing who it was, she told to enter. She loaded a paper quickly and cocked an eyebrow. "Well," she asked, "it's feasible. The potential to return your investment make profitable as well," Stalin submitted with a nod. "Such a thing is also not that hard to hide. I was thinking claiming that we're spending the money I bought on programs to educate the youth of the country." The man chewed on the idea over for a minute before nodding. "Not bad. No idea. Ledger, plus, if we were to actually do that at some point, it making the foes a lot simpler if we combine the 2 programs." Level Ledger nodded and floated over the books to the man he had given him. His recommendation written in the margins, along with the practices set of entries for hiding the purchasing and shipping of foals. "I fucking swear to you," told Take, the moment you slip up, I turn you in right away." The only problem with that vow, of course, was not that he had outsmarted her, but he also had to do it in such a way that he could never be implicated. Her network, her network was vast, almost as large as the appetite for money or revenge. It was pretty clear that the accountant, if Toll ever went down, he'd be squashed like the bug as she fell. How delightfully ironic. So much paperwork. Midnight let out a sigh, having long since given up counting how many. This wasn't a backlog, it was more like they'd never done a single sheet of paperwork since the guard was freaking formed. It was ridiculous, but at least she was getting a good idea of the types of trouble that plagued the city. Aside from the norm of mugging, robbery, the usual issue that plagued the red light and casino strips were also the recent strings of fool napping, and that disturbed Midnight greatly. She could understand why some people did what they did, stealing money for or food, inflicting pain to others because they liked it. But she hated it, truly hated it, when fools brought into the picture. They didn't deserve it. Never passed by and saw Midnight had accomplished in the last few hours. It was amazing. Several months' worth of work sorted and filed away easily for easy access. I must say, kid, I'm impressed, she whistled. Why don't you take a break? You certainly earned it. Yeah, I might swing by home for some lunch. So, an hour or so? Yeah, yeah, never replied as Midnight stretched herself, working out a kink in her back. Just don't take too long. Mira nodded and left the station. She noticed a cute little restaurant and figured she'd pick it in. As she got closer, she noticed that architecture was quite different from surrounding buildings. Frederick's, huh? She mused. Well then, let's see what your food is any good. She walked inside, a small bell above the door tinkling softly. As she did so, looking around, she wondered if she should take a seat or go to the counter to be served. Excuse me, any party here? Hello, madam, the Griffin said as he walked out from his kitchen, smiling widely. Oh, you're not a member of the guard, but a vision of the beauty of the night itself walks into my humble restaurant with all but purred. Shall I show you to a table, or would you prefer a private table? Well now, you're smooth on, are you? Midnight giggled. But I'm a day god, not night, she added, tapping her gold armor. Still, if your food is any good as your flirting, then I may not be the last time you see me. She leaned in close, her fangs glistening in the light as she smiled. So you catered privately, then? I have many a wonderful time, she responded with a grin that didn't lessen at all. Though that sort of thing we are eating, I would not put on the menu. Hmm, well, it's a little early for something like that, Mira smiled. She did sound like this other. Well, points to him for not wasting any time. Let's see your actual food. You want a man like me? You gotta wine and dine first. And lo and behold, the restaurant is revealed, the Griffin said as he finished the menu out from the podium. I cook wonderful food for Mast, and they pay me for it. And those that choose to spend some extra time thanking the chef remembered fondly. He winked to the bat pony then, before returning to business tone. So, the vision of a wonderful night here expecting some pony, or is she dining on her lonesome? Oh, but I'm by myself this time. She winked at him as she turned, running her tail under his beak. Now, show me to my table. Of course, ma'am, the Griffin returned while turning towards the dining area. However, as they passed by a few tables towards one where Frederick had selected, the Thestral couldn't help but notice the familiar brown-coated unicorn sitting at one of the tables by himself. Well now, I think I sit here instead. She's suddenly taking a seat opposite the ledger. Didn't expect to see you here. Frederick makes the best pasta in the city, the unicorn said after adjusting the fact that his lunch plans had been modified. I come here on occasion that I need a break from my work. You didn't think I learned that recipe from the last night on my lonesome, did you? I did, actually. Midnight nodded, shifted it to a more professional mode. I noticed the book you kept on your home. It told me that you are pretty well read in video, or am I mistaken? Reading now to do something and learn it yourself are two different things, my dear, Frederick said as he put Midnight's menu in front of her. This colt came to me to learn why he couldn't mimic the recipe he had bartered me from any real degree. And I showed him what he was doing wrong. Reading is no substitute to learning skill, Unicorn summarized, giving the Griffin a nod and a smile. Practice does make perfect, Song agreed. I didn't learn my skills overnight, after all. She unclipped her wing mountain blades she wore, placing them on the seat next to her. After taking a quick glance at the menu, she had given the handsome Griffin a smile. Perhaps the chef's recommendation? Hmm. The avian responded, giving her a more thoughtful look. I'm aware that Thestral are capable of handling the same food as griffins can. My question then is, when the last time you did so? Oh, it's been a long time since I ate something like that. Mina hummed. Most ponies get a little squeamish when we eat fish or chicken in front of them. It was that then the thought occurred, and she looked her lunch date. Ah, you don't mind me being here then, do you? I'll leave if you want to eat alone. Remind me, what was in that sauce that I poured over your ragatoni last night? Unicorn deadpan. Most ponies don't even get a lick of protein, but Pegasi eat fish every now and then. Might not indulge as often as they do, but I'm fine with the whiter meats. I just hate it. Wasn't paying attention in particular. She stretched her wing and groaned. Well, I'll leave the decision to you, Sir Frederick, and try to impress me. Seeing how this cult is giving you his version of my rigatoni, I see I have to pull all the stops. The Griffin said lightly, a coughing ledger with a wing. Unicorn yelped and cast a glance to the Huffbird. I was planning to eat alone anyways. It's not my fault I need a roommate to afford rent anymore, the stallion protested. And to drink, Mara? Freddy asked, ignoring the unicorn's protest. Songgig lighted and glanced at the list again. Some non-alcoholic cider, please. I'm still on duty. To the wing and part we'll have to wait for another time. Coming right up, the chef said before looking at the male of the pair. Yours should be out with her drink. Thanks, the stallion said as he sipped the sweet tea he has ordered. With that, Frederick was off, leaving the two each other for the time being. You do know that in a year I have been here, he has slept with less than 100 mares, right? Unicorn questioned his suddenly gained lunchtime companion. Mina blinked, then looked at Frederick's direction. Ah, so he's not in my league then? She lightly hummed. Oh, Celestia, that two of you? The unicorn moaned as he let his head hit the table. Mina laughed lightly and kept doing so for a minute or two. Look at your face, she giggled. I'm not kidding. I'm only kidding. Well, I'm no strangers to the horizontal tango. My count is well below that. I'm not some loose man that slept with anything with a pulse, you know. Good to know, the stallion said as he lifted his head and drank the last of his sweet tea. From him, I can ignore it, along with the mass that comes stumbling down the stairs. If it were come to home with me, though, I would might look into buying sleep aids and drug myself getting away from it. It's not all that bad, Mina said as she played with the menu. She tended to get twitchy when she stayed still for too long. You can't let one bad experience ruin the rest for you, but don't worry, not going to force anything on you or make you uncomfortable on purpose. It was looking like she had to take a vow of celibacy while here in Las Vegas. I'll be fine as long as you and Fredrik don't team up and try to surprise me with mess in my bedroom. The unicorn returned, easing himself back into the chair and sighing. Well, there went that. There's that thought, Midnight hummed again. But do you know you don't have good ideas every now and then? And now I feel I need to brush on my combat magics. Stellar sighed. Why can I not have one relaxing day? Midnight shrugged and put her menu down. You live for me now. Normal ran away screaming yesterday and won't be coming back. She narrowed her eyes and recalled earlier conversation with Narrow. So, several dislocated and broken bones. Not to mention months of rehab. All for attempted mugging. I've not been mugged since, Ledger returned, the voice unwavering. I do not regret doing such extreme to do that, ma. Yes, but an example had to be made before another tried. An example? She didn't like this way he worded that. You don't torture some pony to set an example, no matter the circumstances. I don't take I do not take assault on my person lightly. He silence had a bit of steel in his voice. Nor do I tolerate the stupid. She was cocky, had a knife, along with 5 gang members backing her up. All I did was use telekinesis on her, along with my knowledge of pony anatomy. Everything I did was to make sure could be fixed. Maybe not instantly, but I had to endure some idiots when the only language they spoke was violence. You couldn't just incapacitate her, Mira smacked the table with her hoof, and let the rest of the guard, you know, the one that are trained to do things like this. No, you stay and think you're so have to make an example of it. To flex your muscle of stealth entitled authority. She stood up and threw some bits on the table before going to leave. Forget it. I'm not hungry anymore. Ledger called out to her before she left entirely. Miss Sung, should you get home before me, there's an old notebook in the living room. If you can read it, it might shed some light on how stallions in other lands are treated. Minna paused to hear him out, but didn't respond. With a flick of her tail, she left the restaurant. Provided I even stay, she muttered to herself. Regardless, she had paperwork to get back to. Hopefully the utter dullness of the task would calm her a bit down. Fred came back out from the kitchen with the cider and Ledger's salad, a refill of his tea. Ham paused at sight of the absent mare. Where did your wonderful companion go? He asked. She heard about the incident and doesn't believe me with what she justified up for my actions. Ledger replied as he floated his food and drink to himself. Bloody mess. I'd be a lot happier if Estelle had moved in. Ledger, my friend, you just must get over whatever hang-ups regarding the finer sex. The Griffin rejoined, taking a swig of the cider and winking. But in the meantime, do send her over. Maybe I can get her to loosen up. It might be nice to bed and not a bat pony. Thestral, Ledger automatically corrected. And I do that when I want her to move out, and not a second sooner. You two can have one another for all I care. Paperwork promised dreams and happiness, undelivered lies and broken promises. She thought she would calm her down only to make her irritable, and she lost her freaking source as well. She knew he had left them at the restaurant, but after the scene she made, she didn't want to show her face there again anytime soon. Then again, the cute Griffin would be up for a little stress relief. She was not in a mood after particularly last conversation. And on that note, why did she even get so worked up around Ledger? She'd known him for last day. Celestia bucking, damn it! She yelled and strode into the apartment. The plan was simple. She'd get her things, find a nice rooftop, and camp out for a few days before finding a new place. He can't afford the rent, not her bucking problem. That was until she saw her sword sitting in the dining table, neatly folded into perfect condition. Did he bring them home? She wondered aloud. She looked around, her sensitive ears swirled around, but she couldn't hear anything. After taking her blade, she knocked on the door to his study. There was no response. He must have brought them home earlier, she said aloud. She was talking to herself a lot lately. Then she recalled that notebook he mentioned and decided to take a look. No harm in that. It took some poking around, but she finally found it. Once she opened it, she frowned and seized her brow only deepened. What the? She held it out. Some dangerous artifact before looking closely. It's written in changeling script. Why is it written in changeling script? She was knocked out of her rumination by the sound of the door opening behind her. She turned to see Ledger rise past her, even sparing a glance at the threshold before running into the bathroom and locking the door behind him. Binda blinked and looked down, seeing tiny wet drops on the carpet. Was he crying? Binda swallowed hard and took a few tentative steps towards the room. When she was closer, she could hear his racking sobs as all her anger and irritation just disappeared. She flattened her ears against her head and knocked on the door. Ledger, song, what happened? Are you hurt? He was silent for a minute before he drew his breath. No, he responded, still sounding like he might cry again. With any moment. It doesn't sound like it, Midnight replied. If you're hurt, open up. I have first aid and field medicine training. It's not your problem, you can fix, Stalin responded, sounding a little more calm. Are you doubting me? She replied, a little hurt. I have you know very good at what I do. If you're injured, I can help. I'm not injured, Unicorn retorted. Not at all, just please, you can't fix this. You weren't bullied or mugged, were you? She inquired, wondering about the irony behind that. If he had been, you can go and file a report at the station if you have. It's not that, the irritated said. I'm hard at the moment, okay? You happy now? Now leave me alone. Let me work this out in peace. Well, I can definitely help you with that, she said, putting a hoof on her mouth in shock. Oh, God's above. Please, she did not say that aloud. No, just stay on your side of the door, Led replied, even going as far as to a light push with magic to make sure it shut properly. Last thing I need a bloody man in the room with me when I'm like this. Sorry. I didn't mean it like that. Okay. It sounded like that what it sounded like, Song screamed internally and sighed. Maybe a change of topic might help. I found the notebook. Can't read a word of it. Why is it changeling? Because the pamphlet detailed what members of the Dark Brood Mothers do to those who go astray, also known as the Shadow Government in Changeling Lands. A trophy from the first and last man I ever spent time with. Apparently, she could read it and believed it. Well, why would she? Mina eyed widened. Was she a changeling? Was that why you don't like Mass? I'm not sure if she was a changeling or not, Stalin replied. But once I managed to learn changeling script, I learned why she tried to kill me after screwing me. Try to... What? What the hell would she try to kill you? Mina exclaimed, placing her hoofs against the door. Truth to behold, she could just buck in the door and get this crap over and done with to face. Because the punishment in that pamphlet under sleeping around if the mail is not disposed of, she gets her tubes tied while she is awake with extremely hot surgical equipment. So she can feel the burn. then she get branded. Oh, the male get gilded, then killed afterwards, for daring to think himself worthy of a female. What the ever-living fucking... Ah! Midnight screamed. Who does that? Why would you do that? That was a real thing? This is what the changing had to deal with? That's just so many levels of nope. Dark brood mothers have been the force behind Changeling Land being an iron-hoofed matriarchy. They are loath to lose that power. So, they subjugate their mayors via any means and spread anti-mayors internet via propaganda like that pamphlet. Or so, you know, that pamphlet say. Not in so many words, but that's what I got from it. Mira had questions. A lot of questions. But it was a little awkward talking to a doll. Well, you doing okay in there? Talking and explaining things has actually distracted me, the unicorn said, composing himself and opening the door. Except for the streaks of tears he had left. He looked almost exactly the same. Ida stopped him and pulled a handkerchief out of his saddlebags, wiping his face until she was satisfied. There we are. Much better. I thank you, he said. It has been a while since anyone has seen me in such a state, actually. I don't think anyone has. Unicorn seemed to think about it for a moment before shaking his head. No, nobody has ever seen me like that. So thank you for being there. Well, it was certainly goes above and beyond standard roommate fare. So be prepared to admit that we are friends now, she smiled. Before we say it, I won't tell any pony about this, so don't worry, okay? It's been a long time since I had any female friends, Legend. The thought will take some time to get used to. Well, makes that two of us, Midless mate. And sorry about the yelling at you before. But I still think you went a little overboard. A few things have come to light. I withhold any further judgment. I didn't know that you and thought to judge based on the past. She gaze drifted briefly at her voice lowered to the tone figured she couldn't hear. I just hoped you could do the same. To be fair, Jen didn't play part of the role of how overboard it went. Lady said harmlessly, not giving any indication to whatever or not he heard her last statement. She was the one with the biggest weapon and seemed to be the most sure of herself. I took from her what was prepared to stop the whole thing this dislocated limbs bit. But when her friends opened their mouths and said, once you were put back together, they would come for me. I already had a perfect example in my grip. So, I decided to hairline fractures. I'd have done the same if she was a stallion instead. It wasn't about torturing her. It was making me into a target they feared to go after. Alright, like I said, the past is the past and it's officially the weirdest way I ever made friends ever. She giggled. Oh, here's an idea. Maybe I should send a letter to the Princess of Friendship in Ponyville. How would you even start that? Ledger asked while raising an eyebrow. Dear Princess Twilight, today I comforted my roommate through a door regarding his hang-ups about arousal. We bonded over a boner. It's something truly magical and must be shared. Midnight laughed, using Ledger as a support as she would have fall over from the giggle fit. If you're bragging back at the restaurant will believe that then it is not such a big deal for you, Mina pointed out. The ledger pointed out. Minna's giggle ceased as she looked at him. That's actually a new one for me. Well, the most part, it was a mad last time. She thought back to that particular event, a reason why she didn't lay with Mass anymore. Well, regardless, I haven't eaten yet and I'm quite hungry. Let's go out and eat. My treat. I don't have anything to do but a few things up in my study. Daddy said, indicating he dropped the saddlebags by the front door. Let me do that and freshen up a bit, and we're ready to go. I can take them for you if you want, Binda offered to help. Already grabbed for the bags, only to find them floating towards Ledger in his silvery aura. A small smile on his face. My employee would not take kindly to others seeing their records, he reminded Ma. It wasn't an issue when I lived alone, but please, don't look. I'd be a poor friend if you did. Right. Then I shall endeavour to do not be a nosy bat, so that you may remain employed. She looked at her swords with a smile, wing and a smile. Oh, thank you for bringing these back too. I had a time to see to be the most polite thing to do. Oh, and you left Frederick pinning for you, the unicorn said as he moved to put things in the study. But a chuckled as she put on her sword and removed most of her armor, save for the hoof guards. Seems I have that effect on stallions, and now griffins too, it seems. She grabbed her bit bag and placed it on a smaller, more feminine saddlebag. Well, I'm ready to go. After a few more minutes in the study, the unicorn emerged and made for his own bathroom. When he vanished from another minute or so, upon emerging, he looked noticeably better, almost like his old self again. Well, let's now that we're all chipper again, want to go back to Freddy's? I feel about running out like that, and he taught you how to cook. Then his food must be amazing. How how do you think that he got all those masters always bragging about? Ledger Deadpad. But if you think you're willing to take back the, then by all means, let's. Once his back turned, Mina thought she wandered to her new arch nemesis, the winged devil himself, game his own featherhead. And there we have it. Chapter 2. That was interesting, and I have reread it this series many a time for myself, but every time I read it, I feel the connections, the structure. It's a good story, and I try to continue it. Uh, Without further ado, I'm sitting in Ivy Forest on Discord for a community, and I invite people to join in and roleplay, listen to me read, and just hang out with people. So, this was Shifting Melodies, and next time we see is going to be chapter 3. See you next time.